The Ramayana, translated into English prose from the original Sanskrit of Valmiki, edited and published by Manmatha Nath Dutt, 1891. Ramayana, Bala Kanda. Section 41. Seeing the delay on the part of his sons, King Sarga, O son of Raghu, addressed his grandson, flaming in his native energy, saying, "Thou art heroic and accomplished and like unto thy uncles. Do thou inquire into the circumstances that have befallen thy uncles, as also about the way by which the horse hath escaped. And as there are strong and mighty creatures inhabiting the earth's interior, with the view of resisting them, do thou take thy bow along with thy scimitar, and honoring those that deserve to be honored and slaying such as disturb thee, do thou, having attained thy end, come back, becoming the instrument for the completion of my sacrifice." Thus duly enjoined by the high-souled Sarga, Anshumath endowed with fleet vigor, taking his bow as well as his scimitar, set out. And commanded by the monarch, O best of men, he found the underground way that had been carved out by those high-souled ones. And he found an exceedingly powerful elephant belonging to the cardinal point, worshipped by deities, and Danvas, and Rakshasas, and goblins, and birds, and urgas. And having gone round him, and asked him as to his welfare, he inquired after his uncles and the stealer of the horse. Hearing this, the mighty-minded elephant of that quarter answered, "O son of Asmaja, having attained thy object, thou wilt speedily return with the horse." And hearing those words of his, Anshumath by turns duly asked the same question of all the elephants belonging to the cardinal points. And being honored by those guardians of the cardinal points, knowing words as well as their application in regard to time, place, and person, he was asked by them, saying, "Do thou come with the horse." Hearing those words of theirs, that one of fleet vigor repaired unto the spot where the sons of Sarga, his uncles, had been reduced to a heap of ashes. And, arriving there, Asmaja's son, smitten with grief, and being exceedingly afflicted at their destruction, bewailed in heaviness of heart, and exercised by grief and sorrow, that foremost of men espied there the sacrificial horse straying near, and desirous of offering oblations of water unto those princes, that highly powerful one in need of water did not find any watery expanse in the neighborhood. And it came to pass, O Rama, that surveying wide, lie descried the maternal uncle unto the princess, Suparna, the lord of birds, resembling the wind. And thereupon Vinta's son possessed of mighty strength spoke unto him, saying, "Do not lament, O foremost of men. The destruction of these was for the welfare of all. These highly powerful ones had been consumed by the peerless Kapila, therefore, thou ought not to offer water unto them in consonance with social usage. Ganga, O foremost of men, is the elder daughter of Himamvat. In her streams, do thou perform the watery rites of thy uncles, O mighty armed one, let that purifier of the worlds lave these, reduced to a heap of ashes. And on these ashes being watered by Ganga, dear unto all, the 60,000 sons of Sarga will repair unto the celestial regions. Do thou, O highly pious one, go back, taking this horse, O foremost of men, and do thou complete the sacrifice of thy grandfather, O hero." Hearing Suparna's speech, the exceedingly powerful Anshumath of mighty asceticism speedily taking the horse, retraced his steps. Then coming to the king who had been initiated into the ceremony, he, O descendant of Raghu, faithfully communicated unto him the words of Suparna. Hearing this sorrowful intelligence, the king duly finished the sacrifice agreeably to the scriptures. And having seen the completion of the sacrifice, that lord of earth entered his capital, but the king could not see how to bring Ganga on earth. And without being able to ascertain it, the mighty monarch, after a long course of time, and having reigned for 30,000 years, ascended heaven. Section 42. When Sarga had bowed unto the influence of time, the subjects selected the righteous Anshuman for their king. And, O descendant of Raghu, Anshuman proved a great ruler. And his son, the celebrated Dilipa, was also a great king. And, O Raghu's son, consigning unto Dilipa his kingdom, Anshuman entered upon rigid austerities on the romantic summit of the Himamvat. And having for the space of 32 hundreds of thousands years carried on austerities in the woods, that highly famous one, crowned with the wealth of asceticism, attained the celestial regions. And the exceedingly powerful Dilipa, hearing of the destruction of his grandfathers, was stricken with grief, yet he could not ascertain his course about it. And he constantly thought as to how Ganga could be brought down, how to perform their watery rites, and how to deliver them. And as that pious one furnished with self-knowledge was always meditating upon this, an eminently virtuous son was born unto him named Bhagiratha. And performing numerous sacrifices, the mighty king Dilipa reigned for 30,000 years. And without having arrived at any definite decision in regard to their deliverance, the king, O puissant one, being attacked with an ailment, breathed his last. And having sprinkled his son Bhagiratha in the way of installing him in the kingdom, that prime of men, the king, by virtue of his own acts, repaired to the region of Indra and, O descendant of Raghu, that royal saint Bhagiratha was possessed of righteousness, and being without issue, and desiring to obtain it, the mighty monarch consigned his kingdom and his subjects to the care of his counselors, and engaged in bringing down Ganga. And, O Raghu's descendant, restraining his senses, and eating once a month, and surrounding himself with 5 fires, and with arms upraised, he for a long lapse of time performed austerities at Gokarna. And as he was performing his terrible austerities, 1,000 years rolled away. And there at that possessor of the 6 attributes and lord of all creatures, Brahma, was well pleased with that high-souled monarch. And presenting himself together with the celestials, the grandsire thus spoke unto the high-souled Bhagiratha engaged in austerities. O Bhagiratha, O mighty monarch, pleased am I with thee, O Lord of men, on account of thy ardent austerities. Do thou, O thou of excellent woes, ask for the boon thou wouldst have. Thereupon that great warrior, the highly powerful and mighty armed Bhagiratha, with clasped hands, said unto the grandsire of all creatures, If, adorable one, thou art pleased with me, if thou wouldst grant me the fruit of my asceticism, may Sarga's sons receive water at my hands, and on the ashes of those high-souled ones being laved by the waters of Ganga, may my great-grandfathers without fail repair unto heaven. And, O divine one, I beseech thee, may our line never languish for want of offspring. May, O God, this prime boon light upon Ikshvaku's race. When the king had said this, the grandsire addressed him these sweet and auspicious words composed of melting letters, O mighty warrior Bhagiratha, high is this thy aim. Be it so, good betide thee, thou enhancer of the Ikshvaku line. This Hamvati Ganga, Himamvat's elder daughter, even her to hold, O king, do thou employ her, for Ganga's fall, O king, earth will not be able to sustain. And to hold her, O king, find I none save the wielder of the trident. Having thus addressed the monarch, and greeted Ganga, the creator of the worlds repaired to heaven with the celestials. Section 43. When that god of gods had gone away, Bhagirath, or Rama, pressing the earth with his thumb, spent a year in adoring Shiva. And when the year was complete, Uma's lord, Pashupti, worshipped of all the worlds, spake unto the king, saying, O foremost of men, I am well pleased with thee, I will do what will be for thy welfare. I will hold the mountain's daughter on my head. Then, O Rama, that one bowed unto by all creatures, the elder daughter of Himamvat, assuming an exceedingly mighty shape, with irresistible impetus precipitated herself from the welkin upon Shiva's gracious head. And that divine one, Ganga, exceedingly difficult to sustain, thought, I will enter the nether regions, carrying off Sankara by my streams. Knowing her proud intention, the adorable Hara waxed wroth, and the three-eyed deity set his heart upon enveloping her. And, O Rama, as that sacred one plunged upon Rudra's holy head of tangled locks, resembling Himamvat, she could by no means reach the earth, despite all her endeavors, nor did she obtain egress from under the matted locks. And she wandered there for many a year. And finding Ganga in this plight, Bhagiratha became again engaged in high austerities. And thereupon Shiva, O descendant of Raghu, was exceedingly gratified, and cast Ganga off in the direction of the Vindhu lake. And as she was let off, 7 streams branched out from her. And the 3 streams of the excellent Ganga of auspicious waters went in an easterly direction, while the Suchakshu, the Sita, and that mighty river the Sindhu flowed on the auspicious west. And the 7th followed Bhagiratha's car. And that royal saint, the exceedingly puissant Bhagiratha, mounted on a superb car, went before, and Ganga followed him. And she descended from the welkin upon Sankara's head, thence alighting upon the earth, and there her waters flowed with thundering sounds. And earth looked beautiful with swarms of fallen and falling fishes, and tortoises, and porpoises. And then celestials and saints and Gandharvas, and Yakshas and Siddhas mounted on excellent elephants and horses and cars resembling cities, looked on Ganga descending upon the earth. And the celestials stationed on cars were struck with surprise, and all creatures marveled at the excellent descent of Ganga. And eager to witness the spectacle, celestial hosts of immeasurable energy came there. And in consequence of the celestials coming thither, and the effulgence of their ornaments, the firmament free from clouds, shone as if with 100 suns. And the sky was graced with fast fleeting porpoises and serpents and fishes resembling playing lightning, and the welkin scattered with pale foam flakes by thousands, appeared as if it was scattered with autumnal clouds swarming with cranes. And the river proceeded sometimes rapidly, and sometimes awry, and sometimes in volumes, and sometimes sloping, and sometimes ascending, and sometimes languidly, and sometimes water clashed with water, and sometimes ascending an upland, it descended into a dell. And the pellucid and pure water first descending upon Sankara's head, and thence on to the earth, appeared exceedingly beautiful. And there the saints and the Gandharvas, as well as the inhabitants of the earth, touched the sacred water flowing from Baba's body. And those that had fallen from the sky unto the earth in consequence of some curse or other, having bathed there, and thereby having their sins washed and removed by that sanctifying water, again ascended the sky and entered their respective regions. And through the agency of that shining water, all beings, feeling delight, rejoiced, and having bathed in Ganga, became cleansed from sin. And stationed on an excellent car, that mighty king, the royal saint Bhagirath, went first, and Ganga went at his back. And the gods, and the saints, and the Daityas, and the Danvas, and the Rakshasas, and the foremost of Gandharvas and Yakshas, and the Kinnaras, and the mighty Urgas, and the serpents, and the Apsaras, or Rama, and the aquatic animals in a body following Bhagiratha's car, with glad hearts went in the wake of Ganga. And whithersoever King Bhagiratha went, the famous Ganga, foremost of streams, capable of destroying all sins, went. And Ganga flooded the sacrificial ground of the high-souled Jahnu, of wonderful deeds, as he was performing a sacrifice thereat, or Raghava, reading her insolence, Jahnu, waxing wroth, drank up all her wonderful waters. Thereupon, the deities and the Gandharvas, and the saints, struck with amazement, fell to worshipping that foremost of men, the high-souled Jahnu, and brought Ganga into the daughtership of that high-souled one. And that highly energetic lord, being propitiated, let Ganga off through his ears. Therefore it is that Ganga goes by the name of Jahnu's daughter Jahnavi. Then Ganga again began to follow Bhagiratha's car. And having reached the ocean, that foremost of streams, with the object of accomplishing his work, entered into the subterranean regions. And having carefully brought Ganga, that royal saint, Bhagiratha, having his senses bewildered, beheld his grandfathers reduced to ashes. And the excellent waters of Ganga overflowed that heap of ashes, and thereupon, O best of the Raghus, they, their sins purged, attained heaven. Section 44. Then having arrived at the ocean, the king, wending in Ganga's wake, entered underneath the earth, at that spot where those sons of Sagra had been reduced to ashes. And, O Rama, on the ashes being washed by the waters of Ganga, Brahma, the Lord of all creatures, thus spoke unto the monarch: O most puissant of men, the 63,000 sons of the high-souled Sagra have been delivered, and they have ascended heaven like unto celestials themselves. And, O Lord of earth, as long as the waters of the ocean shall endure in the world, Sagra's sons shall reside in heaven like unto celestials. And this Ganga shall become thy eldest daughter, and she shall attain celebrity among all, being called after thy name. And Ganga is called both Tripathaga and Bhagirathi, and she is known as Tripathaga, in consequence of her proceeding in 3 directions. Do thou now, O Lord of men, here offer oblations of water unto thy grandsires, and thereby, O king, make good thy promise. And, O king, that foremost of righteous ones, thy ancestor of exceeding renown, had failed to attain his desire. And, O child, Anshumath, likewise unparalleled in the worlds in energy, had failed in realizing his cherished promise of bringing down Ganga. And then again that royal saint, crowned with qualities of austerities like unto mine, ever abiding by his kshatriya duties, even Dilipa's self, thy exceedingly puissant sire, O eminently righteous one, had failed in bringing down Ganga according to his cherished resolve, O sinless one. And now, O foremost of men, that promise having been fulfilled by thee, thou shalt attain signal glory in the world by the common consent of all. And, O vanquisher of thy foes, having brought about Ganga's dissension, thou shalt from this act of thine also attain the regions of Brahma. Do thou, O best of men, lave thyself in these waters incapable of being rendered worthless. O prime of men, and thereby become purified, and attain sanctity. And do thou perform the watery rites of thy grandsires. May luck be thine. I shall now repair to my own regions. Do thou depart, O king. Having said this, the illustrious lord of the celestials, the grandsire of all creatures, went unto the celestial regions. And the royal saint King Bhagirath, also of high fame, having performed his ablutions and purified himself, and duly and in proper order offered oblations of water unto the sons of Sagra, entered his capital. And attaining exceeding prosperity, that foremost of men ruled his kingdom, and, O descendant of Raghu, having him as their sovereign, the people rejoiced greatly, and with their griefs removed, and prosperity secured, they lived in peace of mind. Thus, O Rama, have I detailed unto thee the history of Ganga. Auspiciousness mayst thou obtain. Good betide thee, the evening draweth nigh. He that reciteth this story conferring prosperity, fame, long life, and heaven unto Vipras, Kshatriyas, and others, attaineth the good graces of his ancestors and the celestials, and, O Kakutstha, he that listeneth to the sacred history of Ganga's descent, conferring length of days, attaineth all his desires, and all his sins are destroyed, and his life and fame increase. Section 45. Hearing the words of Viswamitra, Raghava, together with Lakshmana, was struck with amazement, and spoke unto Viswamitra, saying, O Brahmana, wonderful is the story that thou hast recited unto us, viz., that of Ganga's sacred descension and the replenishing of the ocean. And, O afflicter of foes, as we had been reflecting upon all this at length, the night hath passed away as if it were a moment. And the livelong night hath passed away as I, in company with Sumitra's son, was pondering over Viswamitra's auspicious speech. Then in the morning, which happened to be bright, that subduer of his foes, Raghu's descendant, addressed the ascetic Viswamitra, who had finished his devotion, the auspicious night is past, and we shall, again, listen to thy wonderful narrations. Let us now cross over this sacred stream, foremost of rivers, wending in three ways. And learning that thou hast arrived at this place, the pious ascetics have speedily come hither, and have also brought this bark with a spacious carpet. Hearing those words of the high-souled Raghava, Kaushika crossed over the crowds of ascetics, and on reaching the north bank, he paid homage unto the saints. And when they had landed on the banks of the Ganga, they beheld a city named Vishala. And thereupon speedily that foremost of ascetics in company with Raghava, went towards Vishala, beautiful and elegant like unto the celestial regions. Then the highly wise Rama, with folded hands, asked that mighty ascetic Viswamitra concerning the excellent city of Vishala, O mighty ascetic, what royal line resideth in yonder large city? I desire to hear this, good betide thee, and great is my curiosity. Hearing those words of Rama, that foremost of ascetics began to relate the history of Vishala, saying, Do thou listen, O Rama, to what I had heard from Sakra relating this history, and, O descendant of Raghu, do thou listen to all that befell in this city. Formerly in the Krita age, O Rama, Diti's highly powerful sons, as well as those of Aditi, possessed of prowess, and virtuous and pious, high-souled ones both, O foremost of men, fell to reflecting, how can we become exempt from decrepitude and disease, and immortal? And as they reflected, it struck them, by churning the ocean of milk, we must obtain ambrosia. Then deciding upon churning the ocean, those ones of immeasurable energy making Vasuki the cord, and the Mandara, hill, the stick, began to churn the deep. And after 1,000 years had gone by, the hordes of the serpent, serving as the churning cord, began to vomit virulent venom and to bite at the crags with their fangs. And thereat there came out powerful poison like unto fire, and in consequence the entire universe with celestials, and asuras, and men, began to burn. And thereupon, intending to seek refuge, they appeared before that mighty god, Sankara, or Pashupti, or Rudra, hymning him, "Save us! Save us!" When that master, the lord of the celestials, was being thus addressed by the deities, there appeared before them Hari bearing the conch and the discus. And smiling Hari said unto the trident bearing Rudra, "O chief of the celestials, since thou art the foremost of the gods, this that hath come out of the ocean churned by the celestials, is thine. Remaining here, O Lord, do thou receive the first offering in the form of this poison." Having said this, that best of celestials vanished there. Witnessing the dismay of the celestials, and hearing also the words of Sangin, Shiva took in that dreadful poison as if it were nectar, and then leaving the deities, the worshipful Hara went away. And then, O descendant of Raghu, as the celestials resumed the churning, that foremost of hills serving as the cord, entered the subterranean regions. Thereupon the gods and the Gandharvas fell to extolling the slayer of Madhu, saying, "Thou art the way of all beings, of the celestials in especial. Do thou, O mighty armed one, protect us, and recover the mountain." Having heard this, Hrishikesha, or Hari, assuming the form of a tortoise, stood in the sea, supporting the hill on his back, and that soul of all, Keshava best of male beings, taking hold of the top of the hill by his hand, began to churn the deep, stationed in the midst of the celestials. And after 1,000 years had rolled on, arose a male being impregnated with the Ayurveda, of exceedingly righteous soul, called Dhanvantari, bearing in his hands a stick, and a kamandalu. And there arose also, from the cream of the churning waters, those magnificent dames the shining Apsaras. And, O foremost of men, as they had emerged from water, they are called Apsaras. And there sprang 60 kotis of shining Apsaras. And, O Kakutstha, the female attendants of those are numberless. And neither the deities nor the Danvas would accept them, and in consequence of this non-acceptance, they are known as women belonging to all. And then, O Raghu's descendant, arose the eminently pious daughter of Varuna, Varuni, who fell to looking for acceptance. And Ditya's sons, O Rama, did not accept the daughter of Varuna, and Aditya's sons, O hero, accepted that one of blameless limbs. And hence Ditya's sons go by the name of Asuras, and Aditya's by that of Suras. And the celestials became exceeding glad, on having accepted Varuni. And, O foremost of men, next arose Uchaisrava, best of horses, and also Kaustuba, and next, the excellent Ambrosia. And, O Rama, tremendous was the carnage for the possession thereof. Ambrosia, and Ditya's sons fought together. And the Asuras assembled together with the Rakshasas, and, O hero, mighty was the battle that was fought, striking terror into the three worlds. And when a great havoc had been committed, the highly powerful Vishnu, assuming a captivating form, speedily stole away the ambrosia. And those that came forward before that best of male beings, Vishnu, knowing no deterioration, were crushed in conflict by Vishnu in a different form. And in that exceedingly dreadful battle between the sons of Diti and Aditi, those heroic ones viz. Aditi's heroic sons slaughtered those of Diti. And having slaughtered the sons of Diti and regained his kingdom, Purandara, happily began to rule the worlds, containing saints and charanas. Section 46. And on those sons of her being slain, Diti, afflicted with great grief, thus addressed her husband, Maricha's son, Kashyapa, O adorable one, thy high-souled sons have slain mine. I now wish for a son, who, obtained through long austerities, will be able to slay Sakra. And I will engage in austerities. It behoves thee to grant me such an embryo, such a slayer of Sakra it behoves thee to promise me. Hearing those words of hers, Maricha's son, Kashyapa of exceeding energy answered the deeply aggrieved Diti, saying, Be it so. Good betide thee, do thou become pure, O ascetic. If thou remain pure, when a full 1,000 years shall be complete, thou wilt give birth unto a son who will slay Sakra in battle. And through me, thou wilt give birth to a son that will destroy the 3 worlds. Having said this, that highly energetic one rubbed her person with his palm. And having rubbed her, he said, Luck, and then went away to carry on austerities. And when he had gone, Diti, O foremost of men, becoming exceedingly delighted, went unto Kusaplava and began to practice rigid mortifications. And, O foremost of men, as she was practicing austerities, the 1,000-eyed deity most dutifully ministered unto her, and the 1,000-eyed one provided for her fire, and kusa, and faggots, and water, and fruits, and roots, and other things that she wanted. And at all times, Sakra served Diti by rubbing her person, and removing her fatigue. And when 10 years only were wanting to complete the 1,000 years, Diti, O descendant of Raghu, being exceedingly delighted, thus spoke unto the 1,000-eyed one, O best of those endowed with prowess, of me engaged in austerities, 10 years only remain, to complete the period. And after that time, good betide thee, thou wilt behold thy brother. I will, O son, bind him unto thee in affection, whom I had besought for to compass thy destruction, so that, the fever of thy heart removed, thou wilt with him enjoy the victory of the 3 worlds. On thy high-souled sire having been besought by me, he, O foremost of celestials, granted me the boon that after 1,000 years, I shall obtain a son. And it came to pass that having said this, the sun being in his meridian, the worshipful Diti with her feet placed at that part of the bed which should contain her head, was overpowered by sleep. And thereupon seeing her resting her feet at the place where she should place her head, and consequently unclean, Sakra was exceedingly delighted, and smiled. And, O Rama, Purandara entered into her womb, and that highly self-controlled one severed the embryo in 7 parts. And the embryo being pierced by the thunderbolt of 100 knots, cried at the top of its voice, and thereat Diti awoke. Do not cry, exclaimed Sakra, and even while it was crying, the mighty-minded Vyasa continued piercing it. Do not slay it, said Diti. Thereupon, in consideration of the honor of his mother, Sakra went out. Then he with clasped palms accosted Diti, saying, O worshipful one! Thou didst sleep with thy feet placed where thy head should have lain, and hast therefore became impure. And finding this opportunity, I severed in 7 pieces that would be slayer of mine in battle. Do thou, O worshipful one, excuse. Section 47. When the embryo had been sundered in 7, Diti exceedingly aggrieved humbly spoke unto the irrepressible 1,000-eyed deity, saying, By my fault it is that the embryo hath been sundered in 7. O chief of the celestial, herein thou art guilty of no transgression, O destroyer of Vala, and since calamity hath befallen the embryo, I wish to do thee a good turn. Let the 7 parts become the guardians of the 7 Maruts. And, O son, let my sons having noble forms, becoming famous as Manvyutas range the Vatskanda regions in heaven. And let one range Brahma's regions, and another Indra's, and the highly illustrious third also range around, being known as Divya Vayu. And, O best of celestials, by thy command, let the 4 remaining sons of mine known by the name which thou hast mentioned, range about in appointed periods. Hearing her words, that destroyer of Vala, the 1,000-eyed Purandara, with clasped palms said, All this that thou hast said must come to pass, there is no doubt about it. Good betide thee, thy sons endowed with celestial forms, shall range about. And it hath been heard by us that having thus ascertained in that hermitage, the mother and the son, O Kama, went to heaven, their desire obtained. Even this, O Kakutstha, is the place where formerly the mighty Indra sojourned, and where he attended upon the tea of accomplished ascetic success. And, O most powerful of men, Ikshvaku had an exceedingly righteous son born unto him of Alamvusha, known by the name of Vishala. And here stood a palace, built by him, called Vishala. And Vishala's son, O Rama, was the mighty Hemchandra. And after Hemchandra comes the celebrated Suchandra. And, O Rama, the son of Suchandra was Dhumrasv. And then was born Srinjaya, son unto Dhumrasv. And Srinjaya's son was the powerful Sahdeva. And Sahdeva's son was the preeminently pious Kusashva. And Kusashva's son was the puissant Somadeta. And now, O Kakutstha, Somadeta's son the effulgent and invincible and renowned Sumti resideth in this city. And by the grace of Ikshvaku, all the sovereigns of Vishala are long-lived, and high-souled, and puissant, and pious. And here will we happily spend a night, and on the morning of the morrow thou wilt, O foremost of men, behold Janka. And having heard that the illustrious Viswamitra had come, that best of kings, the effulgent Sumti, appeared before him. And having paid Viswamitra high homage together with his priests and friends, and with clasped hands inquired after the former's welfare, he addressed Viswamitra, saying, Blessed are we, and obliged are we, whose domains, O ascetic, have been graced with thy presence. Surely none is more blessed than I am. Section 48. Having met together, they inquired after each other's welfare. And then Sumti spoke unto the mighty ascetic, saying, Good betide thee, boasting of the prowess of celestial of elephantine or leonine gait, heroic resembling tigers or bulls, possessed of expansive eyes like lotus petals, bearing scimitars and bows and quivers, like unto the Aswins in grace, endowed with youth, like unto celestials fancy-led, descended from ethereal regions to the earth beneath, whose sons, O ascetic, are these boys, and what for have they come hither, and why also is it that they journey on foot, and adoring all directions, like unto the sun or the moon adorning the firmament, and resembling each other in personal proportions, and expressions, and gestures, and equipped with excellent weapons, and warlike, how have these paragons of men come into this impracticable way? I wish to hear all this related truly. Having heard his words, Viswamitra faithfully related all about it. Hearing Viswamitra's words, the king was extremely surprised, and having those sons of the Sratha as his all-worthy guests, received with becoming respect those highly powerful ones deserving of hospitality. And meeting with such splendid reception from Sumti, those descendants of Raghu spent there a night, and the next day set out for Mithila. And beholding Janka's beauteous city, the ascetics exclaiming, "Excellent, excellent," fell to admiring Mithila. And in a grove at Mithila, Raghava saw an ancient, lonely, and romantic asylum, and asked that foremost of ascetics, saying, "What is this that looketh like an asylum, though without any ascetics? I wish to hear, O worshipful one, to whom this asylum belonged in time past." Hearing this speech addressed by Raghu's descendant, that one versed in speech, the highly energetic and mighty saint, Viswamitra, answered, "Ah, do thou listen. I will tell thee through the wrath of what high-souled one this hermitage came to be cursed. O foremost of men, this excellent asylum honored by the celestials themselves, formerly belonged to the high-souled Gautama. And here, O illustrious prince, in days of yore, Gautama in company with Ahalya carried on austerities for a long series of years. And perceiving occasion, Sachi's lord, the thousand-eyed deity, assuming the form of that ascetic thus addressed Ahalya, O exceedingly beautiful one, those bent upon sport, do not stay for the menstrual season. And, O graceful one, I desire to enjoy thy company, on the instant." Thereupon, out of curiosity, that one of powers understanding consented to the proposals of the chief of the celestials. Then, having attained her object, she spoke unto that foremost of the celestials, saying, "O best of the immortals, I have obtained my desire, do thou speedily go from his place, O Lord. Do thou, O Lord of the celestials, from a sense of respectability preserve thyself and me also." Indra too smiling, said unto Ahalya, "O thou of shapely hips, pleased am I now I repair unto my own place." Having known her thus, Indra, O Rama, exceedingly apprehensive of Gautama, then hurriedly sallied out of the thatched cottage. Just at this time, Indra saw that mighty ascetic Gautama entering, that foremost of anchorets, incapable of being repressed by the deities and the Danva, and equipped with ascetic energy, having bathed in the waters of holy spots, and flaming like fire, carrying faggots and kusa grass. And seeing him, the countenance of the Lord of the celestials turned pale. And seeing the wicked thousand-eyed deity in the guise of an ascetic, the well-behaved anchoret fired with rage said, "And since, O thou of wicked understanding assuming my form, thou hast done this foul deed, thou shalt lose thy scrotum." And soon as the high-souled Gautama had said this in ire, the scrotum of the thousand-eyed one dropped to the earth. And having seen Sakra in this plight, he cursed his wife also, "For 1,000 years thou shalt live here feeding upon air, without food, tormented with repentance, and thou shalt remain in this hermitage unseen of any. And when the irrepressible son of Dasharatha, Rama, shall come to this deep wood, thou shalt be cleansed of thy sin. And, O wicked one, ministering unto him the rites of hospitality, with a mind free from ignorance and covetousness, thou shalt in thy own form with joy regain my side." Having said this to that wicked woman, the highly energetic Gautama of rigid austerities, forsaking this hermitage, began to carry on penances on the romantic summit of the Himamvat, inhabited by Siddhas and Charanas. Section 49. And having been deprived of his scrotum, Sakra, with eyes tremulous with fear, addressed the celestials with Agni at their head, as well as the Siddhas and the Gandhabas and the Charanas, saying, "I have accomplished the work of the celestials by stirring the ire of the high-souled Gautama, and thereby disturbing his austerities. And in doing so, I have been deprived of my scrotum, and Ahalya also hath been put down. And I have deprived him of his ascetic energy by causing him to utter a mighty curse, and, therefore, ye celestials, and saints, and charanas, ye should restore my scrotum unto me who have served the gods. Hearing Satakratu's words, the deities along with the Maruts led by Agni, presented themselves before the divine Pitris. And then Agni addressed the latter, saying, This Ram is possessed of a scrotum, while Sakra hath been deprived of his. Do ye taking the scrotum of the Ram furnish Sakra with it? And although deprived of the scrotum, the Ram will be able to grant consummate satisfaction unto ye. And on those that will offer such a Ram for your entertainment, ye will bestow undying and profuse merit. Hearing Agni's speech, the assembled Pitris, rooting up the scrotum of the Ram, joined it unto the person of the thousand-eyed deity. Thenceforth, O Kakutstha, the divine Pitris together feast upon scrotumless Rams, for their scrotum had been joined unto the person of Indra. And thenceforth, O Raghava, Indra also through the high-souled Gautama's ascetic energy, hath been bearing the scrotum of a Ram. Therefore, O highly powerful one, do thou enter the hermitage of that pious one, and deliver the dignified and divinely fair Aholya. On hearing Viswamitra's words, Raghava in company with Lakshmana, placing Viswamitra in their front, entered the asylum, and they beheld that magnificent dame flaming in ascetic energy, and incapable of being gazed at too near even by the celestials and the asuras, as if created by the deity to be the divinely charming woman, like a flame hid in smoke, or the brightness of the full moon clouded and dimmed in mist, or the solar splendor incapable of being beheld on account of clouds. And by virtue of Gautama's word, she had been incapable of being seen by any in the three worlds, till the sight of Rama. And now the curse having come to an end, she could be perceived by them. And the two descendants of Raghu then took hold of her feet, but remembering Gautama's words, she on her part took hold of theirs. And with a collected mind she gave them water for their feet as well as arghya, and extended unto them the rites of hospitality. And the Kakutsthas accepted the homage thus rendered according to the ordinance. And blossoms began to shower copiously to the sounds of kettle drums, and the Gandhabas and the Apsaras began to rejoice greatly. And exclaiming, Excellent, excellent, the celestials honored Ahalya, as with a person purified by penance, she again came under Gautama's governance. And the highly energetic Gautama also happy on his union with Ahalya, honored Rama highly, and that one of mighty mortifications then became engaged in austerities. And having duly received signal honors from the great ascetic Gautama, Rama set out for Mithila. Section 50. When proceeding northeast, Rama in company with Sumitra's son, placing Viswamitra at their head, appeared before the sacrificial ground. And Rama and Lakshmana said unto that puissant ascetic, Great is the pomp and splendor of the high-souled Janka's sacrifice. And, O pious one, many thousand of Brahmanas inhabiting various regions, and well-read in the Vedas, have come to this sacrifice, and the abodes of ascetics are thronged with hundreds of cars. Do thou, O Brahmana, arrange for some place where we may put up. Hearing Rama's words, the mighty ascetic Viswamitra selected for their abode a well-watered spot free from bustle and tumult. And hearing of Viswamitra's arrival, the best of monarchs without blame, placing the priests Satnanda before him, as well as the high-souled family priests, speedily taking the arghya, at once went out in humble guise, and offered it unto Viswamitra according to the ordinance. Having accepted that homage of the high-souled Janaka, the ascetic inquired after the king's welfare, and the uninterrupted performance of his sacrifice. And the king, together with his priests, having inquired of the ascetics as to their welfare, cheerfully embraced them all in a proper way. Then he, with clasped hands, spoke unto that foremost of anchorets, saying, O worshipful one, do thou along with these eminent ascetics, take thy seat. Hearing Janaka's words, the mighty ascetic sat him down. And the king also, in company with his priests and counselors, sat down around in order of rank. And then the monarch, looking into Viswamitra's face, said, Today by the grace of the gods, hath my sacrifice been crowned with success. Today have I reaped the fruit of my sacrifice by beholding thy worshipful self. Blessed and obliged am I whose sacrificial ground, O Brahmana, hath been graced by thee along with these ascetics. 12 days, O Brahmarshi, have been fixed for the period of initiation by the sages. On the expiry of that term, thou wilt, O Kaushika, behold the celestials come unto the sacrifice for claiming their respective shares. Having said this, the king with a cheerful countenance, with folded hands, again intently asked that foremost of ascetics, these youths, good betide thee, like unto celestials in prowess, of the gait of lions or elephants, heroic, and resembling tigers or bulls, of expansive eyes like unto lotus petals, bearing scimitars, quivers and bows, graceful like unto the Aswins, endowed with youth, resembling immortals' fancy. Led from heaven unto the earth, whose sons, O ascetic, are they, and what for have they come, and why again have they come afoot? And bearing excellent arms, whose sons, O mighty anchoret, are these heroic ones, who grace this place even as the sun and the moon do the welkin, and resemble each other in bodily proportions, expression, and gestures, wearing sidelocks and of warlike mien. This I would hear truly related. Hearing this speech of the high-souled Janaka, that ascetic of immeasurable soul related all about the Sratha's sons, their sojourn in Siddhasrama, and the slaughter there of the Rakshasas, their undaunted journey, the sight of Vishala, the encounter with Ahalya and Gautama, Rama's curiosity about the mighty bow, and visit there for beholding the same. Having related all this unto the high-souled Janaka, that one endowed with exceeding energy, the mighty ascetic Viswamitra, paused. Section 51. Hearing the narration of the intelligent Viswamitra, Gautama's eldest son, the exceedingly energetic Satnanda of rigid austerities, highly effulgent by virtue of his asceticism, with his downstanding on end, wondered greatly at the sight of Rama. And seeing the king's sons seated at their ease, he said unto that foremost of ascetics, Viswamitra, O most powerful of anchorets, by thee was my illustrious mother, grown old in asceticism, shown unto the king's son. Did my famous and exalted mother entertain with the produce of the woods Rama worthy of every one's homage? And, O highly energetic one, hath that old story relative to my mother having been wronged by that celestial, been communicated unto Rama? And, O Kaushika, good betide thee, hath my mother, in consequence of beholding Rama, been united with my revered sire? And, O son of Kusika, hath the highly energetic Rama come hither, after having been rendered homage by my high-souled revered sire? And, O Kusika's son, was my revered sire of quiescent soul, saluted by Rama when he arrived there? Hearing those words of his, the mighty ascetic Viswamitra, skilled in speech, replied unto Satnanda, cognizant of words, saying, O best of ascetics, nothing necessary was omitted by me, but everything hath been done. And the ascetic's wife hath been united with him, even as Renuka with Bhrigu's son. Hearing the speech of the intelligent Viswamitra, the exceedingly energetic Satnanda said unto Rama, Art thou welcome, O chief of men? It is by our luck that, O descendant of Raghu, thou hast come unto us, headed by the respected Maharshi Viswamitra. This highly energetic Viswamitra, this Brahmarshi is of prowess measureless, and deeds inconceivable, by virtue of his asceticism. Him thou knowest as the prime way. O Rama, there existeth on this earth not one that is more fortunate than thyself. Thy protector is even Kusika's descendant, by whom mighty austerities have been performed. Do thou listen as I faithfully describe unto thee the ascetic power of the high-souled Kaushika. Do thou listen unto me relating this. This righteous one was for a long time a king, subduing his enemies, cognizant of morality, accomplished, and intent upon the welfare of his subjects. And there was a king named Kusa, the son of Prajapati. And Kusa's son was the powerful and pious Kusnabha. And Kusnabha's son was Gadi. And Gadi's son is the highly energetic and mighty ascetic Viswamitra who ruled the earth. And that king reigned for thousands of years. And it came to pass that once with his fourfold forces marshalled, he set out for ranging the earth. And the king went on by turns ranging cities and kingdoms, rivers and mountains and asylums. And at length that foremost of conquerors, the mighty Viswamitra, came upon Vasishtha's asylum furnished with various blossoming plants and trees, abounding in animals, inhabited by Siddhas and Charanas, graced by celestials and Danvas and Gandhabas and Kinnaras, and filled with mild deer, frequented by the feathered tribes, crowded with Brahmarshis, with Devarshis inhabiting it, teeming with high-souled ones of accomplished ascetic success and resembling fire, like another region of Brahma, graceful, and adorned on all sides with high-souled saints and Valkilyas and Vakanasas resembling Brahma, feeding on water or air, or living on withered leaves, or subsisting on fruits and roots, and self-controlled, and free from faults, and of vanquished senses, and engaged in reciting mantras and performing homas. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please like and subscribe to be notified of when new audiobooks are uploaded. Thank you for listening and learning. Shanti.